And after a little conversation about depression, he asked me a question that I couldn't believe I hadn't asked myself. He said, "Do you actually want to die, or do you just not want to feel like this anymore?"
I'm tired, man. It's super raw. It's real. It's so real.
Welcome back to Exalt Expo. I'm Joe Clark, your designated curator. In today's video, I talk about something that I don't think gets talked about a whole lot, and I think it affects everybody, whether it affects you directly or whether you know someone close to you that it affects, and that's just mental health, and which obviously encompasses a lot. Usually I bring you guys innovators, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and things like that. And I decided to bring this to you today because I can, because it's my vlog, and if you don't like it, you can change it. So in this week's video, I present to you Jake Tyler, who is out of Brighton. For those of you who don't know, is in Europe, across the pond, and he is a ambassador, vlogger, and all-around genuine, honest person who speaks to his struggles with depression. And I hope you really enjoyed this week's video, as I know many of you are either affected by this or know someone who is affected by it, which I fall into the same boat. Hope you enjoy.
But yeah, when people ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm fine generally. I think that's what everybody does. But for me, that's not a real appropriate answer either, because for me, it's a way of deflecting the question. It's like a reflex. And deflecting that question is something I've got really good at, because a lot of the time I'm not fine. In fact, I live with depression. I'd had suicidal thoughts before, as everyone who suffers from depression surely does. But always knew I'd never really go through with it because of the pain and, you know, everything that would cause the people that were close to me. Is, you know, what a great deterrent that is. I just couldn't do that. But that morning when I lay in bed, depression had completely taken over my thoughts. It had manipulated and it had lied its way into making me think that ending my own life wasn't just best for me, but actually it would be best for everybody. Because that is what depression does. It overpowers you. It takes the wheel and it steers you away from everyone and everything you love. And it takes you down a dark tunnel. And when you're in that tunnel, it hugs you and it tells you that this is where you're supposed to belong. I called my mum that morning, but it wasn't because I needed help. I thought I was beyond help. I called her because I thought that day I was going to take my own life, and I called her to hear her voice one last time. I went to my GP the next day, and I did something I thought I'd never do. I told someone I didn't know what was going on inside my own head. And after a little conversation about depression, he asked me a question that I couldn't believe I hadn't asked myself. He said, "Do you actually want to die, or do you just not want to feel like this anymore?" And at this point, it was all about promoting exercise and being outdoors as a way of managing mental health and raising money for the Mental Health Foundation. But by the time I got up to Wales, I'd been gone for so long, the thing had turned from a challenge into a lifestyle, where I'd found a way to live in the moment, serendipitous encounters with strangers and being immersed in nature all the time. And having the feeling like you're living completely in the moment is like gold dust to a depressive. By the time I'd made it into North Wales, climbed Mount Snowdon and come back, I was getting messages from people all over the country. And I couldn't believe how open people were being about their own experiences and how much this was connecting with people. And I noticed something really, really interesting. A lot of people who got in touch with me hadn't actually told anyone else. I was the first person they were telling. And they was like, no one else can understand. And I remember having that feeling as well. Because everything in my life led me to my depression, that awful feeling. You know, the situations I've been in, the people in my life, the decisions I've made. Everything had just reached that one moment. I thought, how the hell is anyone going to understand that? And that was the thread that was running through all these conversations that I was having with people. They were like, no one's going to understand me because I've been through this, and this. And I realised that's not what we should be talking about. It's the feeling itself. Because depression is huge. Like, it's the biggest, most inclusive club in the world. Like, anyone can join, it's evolving all the time. But its biggest trick is convincing everyone who's part of that club that they're the only member. Isn't that clever? And everyone thinks that their stuff is the worst and no one's ever had it as bad as me, and all the guilt that goes with that and everything. But that's because we're talking about the wrong things. We start talking about the feeling itself, then people can get on board with that. People know what that's like. And that's when things turn into a community. By being in the documentary, I mean, I was communicating by, you know, doing the walk before through video blogging, but I had the kind of safety net there of talking about it for, you know, talking into my phone on my own and having the luxury of being able to trim out some of the waffle, some of the stuff that I thought wasn't necessary later on before I posted it as a video blog. What Mind Over Marathon told me to do, or forced me to do even, was to put an unedited version of myself out there. And that's when I realised what a great leveler talking about your mental health openly is. Nobody's above anyone else in that conversation. I think a lot of how we present ourselves is run by ego and status, and I think a lot of that, it governs how, you know, the things that we do and what we say. The discussion about mental health seems to suspend all that, and it levels the playing field. And that's great because it's a reminder that really we're all on the same team. We all have mental health, and the more we learn about each other's, the more we learn about our own. Whether it was talking to one of the guys, my coach, you know, Nick Knowles, Prince Harry, you know, I don't know if I've got a picture of Prince Harry actually. Oh yeah, I totally do. It's, talking about mental health is what's best for society, because deep down everyone craves human connection. As I watch them cry and hug and congratulate, I take a step back and I make a promise to myself that whenever I feel worthless, whenever I feel alone and ashamed of the feelings I'm feeling, I'll play this moment over and over again in my head until it goes away. Because the feeling I have right now, I don't want to die. I want to live forever. Thank you.
I think this still really touches on us as people as we grow. It affects us in our workplaces, it affects us in our families, it affects us in our communities, which is why I'm talking about it. To keep it real plain and simple, today I wake up and in the first 40 minutes of the day, it started out as a horrible day. My key battery is dying, so I had to smash it like 15 times. My key to my car battery is dying, and I had to like just to get it to go. And as I was leaving the neighborhood, which I live in a large neighborhood and all the way in the back, so I've got to drive all the way to the front. And as I was doing that, the person in front of me was driving super slow. And I left probably like 25 minutes later than I wanted to. Now, before you start judging, like, bro, you didn't say anybody died, you didn't say like anybody like got some terminally ill diagnosis. I know and I get that, and honestly, for the most part, I'd be the first person to say those things, right? Like, did anybody die? Did anybody da-da-da-da? Well, then be grateful, be thankful. And yes, that's very true. Yet even today, I experience the alternative, which is when like molehills become mountains, when these like really, really small things seem really, really big, and they seem really, really important. Oh, you scared me. Oh, you scared me. Yes, you did, Emily. Yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. You gonna get in the way? You get in the way? Come here. Come here. Yes, that's my boy. That's my boy. You're gonna knock down the camera? That's my boy. Okay, you done? You done? You done interrupting? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. So, like I was saying, when these mountains turn into molehills, when really small things seem like really, really big things, that's something that can happen out of a place in our hearts when we're not seeing, what we're thankful for, when we're not seeing all that we have to be thankful for and grateful for. And I know I keep using those words, but they matter so much. Gratitude will take you such a long way. And sometimes it's so difficult to see because we bring our eyes from up here to down here, and oftentimes down here, and it like throws everything off of its perspective. And I really just want to take a second to talk to two groups specifically. One is all of you, and all of you because that group is people in their workplaces. I was so inspired this week by people at work, and I can't even really get into the details of it, but some of the engagement that I saw with people being completely transparent and honest with where they were at in their hearts and their minds and their lives and their health and all kinds of things. And I feel beyond blessed and beyond honored to even be aware, to be cognizant of the things that people are going through. And you should as well. If you know someone who is going through something or has taken the time and the courage to reach out to you or to be honest with you in light of where they're at in their life, consider that an honor and consider it a big deal and a responsibility that you have access into their lives where you can have influence and where you can have a positive influence more than anything else, and be aware that you could also be a negative influence and treat it accordingly. That's one group of people, and I have so much more to say about that, but that'll have to come at another time. The second group of people that I want to talk to are people that have a faith like I do. I believe that Jesus Christ died for me and that he made me whole, and so that makes me Christian. And for those of you that are Christian who think that you're not supposed to be depressed or think that depression is below being a Christian, in one sense you're absolutely right. In another sense, it's absolutely debilitating to think that you can't be open and honest with where your heart is, where your faith and where your belief is, for you to be able to open up and not feel ashamed and not feel guilty. And I know there are so many other groups that have that similar sentiment, that they feel like whatever they're a part of, whether that's a wealthy family that they're a part of, or a great school that they're a part of, or that they're a CEO of a company and they should look and feel and sound successful, or whether they're supposed to be a strong husband or the oldest sibling in a group of several siblings who's the leader. Many of you feel like you're not allowed to be weak, you're not allowed to be depressed, you're not allowed to show any kind of emotion or sympathy. And I just want to encourage you and remind you and give you that permission that you are. No matter what position you're in, no matter what group you're a part of, you're allowed to feel a certain way. Even to a degree, you're allowed to feel scared. But what you are also, and even more so, allowed to do is have courage, is to have faith, is to speak to someone, to reach out to someone and expect them to receive you with empathy, to expect them to receive you with grace and with patience and with love. And you have that right, and I just want to encourage you to do that in whatever side that you sit on of it, whether you are somebody reaching out or somebody who is being reached out to. Speak with your heart, speak with grace, and speak with patience. And as I always say, you matter, and what you do matters. And most of all, be intentional with your attention. Thank you for spending your attention here. I know this clip was a little bit longer, but I thought it was important. I know I edited it out like a good bit so you could get a sense of where my man's was at. But thank you for sticking in there. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing to Exalt. Thank you for liking this video. I really do appreciate you, and I hope that we can continue to grow together. I hope that as I can continue to grow and bring more value and show you guys great videos, and that I earn your attention and deserve your attention by providing something to you. I hope that all I get in return is just honesty and transparency. Please feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have a story to tell. I would love to connect with you on any of my platforms, whether that's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever. Feel free to reach out and find me. And until the next time, which is going to be Exalt Expo 16. Guys, that's crazy. We're at 16. I'm so thankful for that. I'm so full in my heart with the fact that we're at 16 videos coming up here next week. So I appreciate you. God bless. Take care.